Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's topic is injuries. Will I get injured in jiu-jitsu? It's top of mind for everybody right now, depending on when you're watching this, but recently a big $46 million case was just settled for a broken neck in jiu-jitsu. And so everyone's been talking about it lately, but they're doing it from the side that they're qualified on, which would be schools, technique, all that. That's not me. Mine is, will you get injured, newbie? If you're a newbie and you hear something like that, is it going to keep you from wanting to come in? So let's talk about that today. So first things first, will I get injured? Yes, you will. It's going to happen. Will you break your neck? Probably not. Most people don't. What I'm talking about is injury is always all the way from broken neck to more or less kind of what I've experienced. I'm in a group on Facebook right now of BJJ after 40, so it's old farts. I'm 36, but you know, I relate. And there's just injuries all over the place. It's one of the most common questions on there. If it's not technique and white belt stuff, then it's injury stuff. And so I've experienced a few injuries. I've been in this since July of last year, so that's like what, I guess 8 months, 9 months now. I'm coming up on a year. What I've had happen is I have caught my toe in our old mats, which are terrible, and it turned purple. It looked like a nice grape popsicle for about 2 days, and it went away, and it was fine. I've gotten some nose bumps, no bloody noses, which was actually my biggest fear going into martial arts. Is I'm gonna get hit in the nose, I'm gonna cry, and it's just gonna bleed, and I'm gonna hate it. So I've gotten bumped in the nose a few times. Nothing crazy's happened. The biggest thing I found is like actual problems I already had that finally come to the surface because jiu-jitsu actually brings us up. So like my hips suck. They were so tight. It was awful, and they are totally different now. And so really it kind of like brought out some of those weaknesses that were already within. Now my shoulder has been a big problem. One of the scariest ones I think I had was on some takedowns. It just wrecking my shoulder. And that night, I actually wasn't really able to sleep very much. I couldn't really lift my arm behind my back at all. And it was this close to going to the emergency room. Took some pregnant lady ibuprofen loads, as I was encouraged by my nurse wife and a doctor in our church. And that did the trick. And it's fine for the most part. It's only a few times when I maybe overextend it, that I get a little bit of my rotator cuff stuff messed up. So like those things happen, but I want to remind you that this is a contact sport. Incidental contact happens all over the place. Frankly, I think the injuries that happen on the mat seem to be less than what I experienced in football, which is much more fast contact. But even I was talking to some of my other pastors that play basketball in local leagues and stuff. Like people get injured all the time in those things. So yes, you're gonna get injured. It's gonna happen. The question though is it worth it? Is it worth it to you? So for me, that answer is yes. It's gonna be different, I think, for everybody. You know, some of my teammates have gotten injuries on other toes. This is before we got our new mats. Our new mats have like saved our feet. From Joel busting his heel in between. It just landed right in between the grooves on a mat and hit the concrete essentially, to Coach's pinky toe being sacrificed to Helio. So like those happen. The question is it worth it? And I think if it affects your livelihood, you have a lot more questions to ask than probably the most of us. So I play bass guitar and drums, and if I lose a finger like wrapped up in a gi, that could really kind of mess up my music playing, but I do that on Sunday for our band, and I can still do my job. Now, will I be able to type as much? There's a good bit of typing in my job, but I'll get by in enough time for my finger to heal. If you're a coder, if you're an engineer like that, like it may not be plausible for you, and you may need to find another sport. So it's really a risk analysis for your livelihood in that sense. That being said, there, I think, in most cases, are modifications for people. But if you're on your feet all day, delivering, you know, food supplies or whatnot, and you break your knee, mess up your knee in some fashion, yeah, you're not going to be able to, you know, haul a dolly around for however long. So that's a big determining factor. Will you get hurt? Yes. How bad? That super depends, and we'll talk about that in a second. But is it worth it to you? Like, can you make your livelihood still with that, or is it going to interfere with that? You may need to evaluate. So let's talk about how injuries happen. I think that might be the more important thing. There is a lot of incidental contact that happens, and it does tend to happen more with white belts because we do weird, unexpected things. The upper belts might be used to setting us up to go one way, and just because we don't know what the heck we're doing, we flail. We don't keep our arms in tight like you're almost always supposed to do. We go left when we're supposed to go right. We zig when we're supposed to zag, etc. And we end up catching somebody. Elbows are usually a big thing when you're doing a hip switch or something, or you're getting swept, and yeah, the elbows fly. So, but the question is like, how often do injuries happen to me? And how often do they happen to my teammates? Because if there's a more than average, I don't know what that number is, seems to happen frequently, people getting hurt, I think some questions need to be asked. If it happens here and there, if you can identify why it happened, those are really helpful things to figure out what's going on in your gym culture. So let's first ask about the gym. Is it your gym? As far as feet were concerned, in my gym, yes, it was the gym's fault. I'm going to blame the floor. We had old fold-out mats, and you know, a lot of people have to deal with those things, and that's just part of what you have available to train in. But man, they caught everything. They caught toes, they caught heels, the knees. For my toe, I was in mount, and we were working on sweeps, and he swept me, but my toe was just tucked under, and it twisted as I went, and it was done. That was it. That was the end of my big toe, at least for a week. But it's fine now. So it can be the gym. It could be the equipment. It could more likely be if you have good mats and you know, good equipment. It could just be the gym culture. And man, those are so far and varied, and I've experienced so few that I don't have a whole lot that I can like authoritatively say to that. But just be aware of how much and how hard people are rolling. Those discussions fly everywhere. So this is for the new person, okay? Gym cultures are different, and I found that out mostly by reading other people's posts as they talk about their experiences, and I think that you should do some of that. But just recognize that some places are like competition focused and they go hard. Some of them only have classes that go that hard, and beginner stuff is easier. Some classes are full of older people and we like to go softer and slower. We turn it up when we need to, that type of thing. It could very much be that, and injuries happen when we get more reckless and careless, and that happens a lot of times for newer people when we move too quickly, too early. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. Take your time as you do things. Just learn it. You're going to be in this for a long time. You don't have to win practice today. It's better that you are able to come back tomorrow, train tomorrow, work your job tomorrow, than to win practice today by going harder than you know what to do with. This is really hard sometimes for people that come from sports. Wrestlers are very confident in wrestling, but jiu-jitsu is not wrestling. There's a lot of grappling that is shared, but there's a lot that's not. And so when people are on your back and trying to choke you, that's not a wrestling move. That's a jiu-jitsu move. And things are different now. So if you respond too quickly in the wrong way, you can hurt yourself or you can hurt your partner. So just be aware of those things. It could be the culture. So if people aren't just going full send, it could be because of takedowns. Takedowns are, man, that just where bad things happen, unfortunately. For a couple of reasons. You're moving a lot of weight. Even if you're a lighter person, you're moving all the weight. When you are on the ground, some of your weight's being carried on the floor, some of it's being carried on your partner in a different place. So then when you move this other part of your body, it's not your full weight being moved. But when you're standing, you're moving your full weight into somebody else's full weight. That ups the ante. Another component of that is that in most cases, that's where we get our fewest reps. We very rarely train takedowns in a lot of gyms, and so you just don't have the reps. You don't know what to do. You haven't had the time and exposure to catch some of these little things. So, for instance, Joel and I were working on some takedowns a couple weeks ago, going great. Going on to the crash mat, which was my preference for various reasons. Working on those things and doing double legs, trying to move the legs out of the way as we go to the ground. Trying to work on making sure our head position's right so that we don't get guillotined. All these things. And we did like 30, 40 takedowns on each other. And last one, it's always the last one because that's when they get hurt. But after all of those, it's just different for whatever reason than all the other ones. His arm got stuck under my tricep And as we came to the ground, he basically tried to accidentally frame me, I think is what happened. But I felt him push in real hard, and I didn't hear anything because my hearing sucks. But you just feel all that unusual pressure right there, and I knew something not great had happened. If he had not been on the crash mat, there's a good chance, like, snappy, like, probably would have happened. As it is, it was basically like a super wrist lock, and that's what we do, right? So he's recovered for the most part from that, but it was swollen up and it was not great, and just those kinds of things happen. And it's, what's the technique for that? I mean, there are techniques, but trying to coach all of those things for a coach that's maybe got, 10, 15, 30 people in a class, it's asking a lot, So takedowns are really just, you take your time with those, particularly if you're heavy, if you're a giant like me. There's just a lot of danger there. You don't have to do anything quickly at first, okay? Take your time. Don't be forced into anything. Be willing to be pushed, right? That's how we grow. But at the same time, you've got to protect yourself, and you're the only one that can really look out for you on that. So just, man, be careful, okay? I don't want to throw professors under the bus too early. My coach is just awesome at this. But at the same time, he can only do so much, it's just asking a lot to try to prevent absolutely everything. If you made it this far, then we need to talk about the last part. It might be you. Is it you? Are you the crazy one? Are you the one that goes full send all the time? Are you trying to win practice? If it is, you're a danger to yourself and to others. And there's this thing that we have to do with our kids. You need to have a category of weirdo, I think, when you're parenting your kids. So for my girls, if there's some things that they do that are not sinful, like they're not evil, it's not rebellion, it's not something that we have to correct and discipline for. It's just weird, and we tell them, what you're doing is not wrong, but if you keep doing that, you're not going to have a whole lot of friends. You're just being a weirdo. There's those kinds of things, if you're that guy on the mats, you might not have a whole lot of friends. If you're the giant already and you got lucky with them wanting to roll with you, and then you still go full send, you just might not have a whole lot of friends. And I'm in this for the long haul. I want people to feel comfortable rolling with me, even if it's challenging. Don't go full send. You don't have to. No one needs to. You're not going to win practice. It might be you. Don't be a weirdo. It could be you in a sense of like past injuries. So my coach has a bad neck from a car accident a long time ago. So rolling in gi is just miserable for him. It's just miserable. And some of you may find yourself in a situation like that where 95% of your training is no gi because you just can't. In other cases, for me, like I know my shoulders are messed up from lifting. That's part of what kind of got me looking towards mobility and jiu-jitsu. So I recognize that I've got to be kind of careful with my shoulders. From arm locks, just tapping early, being in control as I'm getting submitted, just being careful like that. It could be those things. But the last thing that it could be is what we talked about earlier, like with my hips. It's just imbalances, and there's things that you got to fix. So that can be your hamstrings being super tight because you've not used your legs in a lot of different ways. It's probably going to be like your quads and hips because you're just not used to lifting your knees, your feet up. Really, the only people who train that are sprinters. For most people, we're doing press movements and not the aspect of bringing your knee up. And so if you sit on your back with your legs at 90 degrees for 3 minutes while people try to pass guard like that, you'll feel what muscles I'm talking about. That's not an injury. That's just imbalances that you have to correct. And that takes time to do that. But you'll find that and you'll be able to move better for it. And those are good things. So I hope I've not dissuaded you. I hope I've encouraged you that I think the injuries that I've received and really any that might come my way are going to be worth it. I have gained so much from jiu-jitsu. You can see that in my 6-month reflection. I'm going to do another one here at a year. I've gained so much from jiu-jitsu that really it's all worth it. And I have a good gym, I have a good coach, I have good teammates, and I have hopefully a good head on my shoulders to look out for myself. That when we're in there, we take care of each other. Things happen still. People get caught. Nosebleeds happen. Eyes get, popped here and there. But it's not malicious, and it's not because they're being reckless. It's just part of us learning what's going on, and we understand that. We take care of each other. I hope you find a place that will take care of you, because in my opinion, absolutely worth it. Just know these things, look for these things, and be proactive. It's the way that we should go about everything. So I hope that helps. If you guys are new to this channel, please like, comment, subscribe. Please let me know what other questions you have. I'd love to tackle those. And until next time, later.